Hey, everybody, this is Simply Sherri,
It's Belle.
and this is our yearly, what should we call it?
Torture
Oscar
session.
rant. Um, we keep
Our
hoping to get
annual flogging.
annual vlogging, our ever torture test, where we take a few moments for Pop Culture Uncovered to discuss the Oscar race for 2023. Um, we're going to
Yeah.
start with the Oscar ceremony is this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and we're not gonna lie. We're not gonna hold you. We're gonna rant. I will be back later this week with a friend of mine where we will do our prediction
Yes.
on the major categories. So I'll ask you to come back later this week to watch that. Um,
Please
so
excuse the various puppies in my house who are all decided that at the exact same time that they were all going to decide to play with their toys at the exact same time. So
because they need to be near you,
yes,
because
clearly.
puppies. So off the breaks, I'm just going to name the 10 nominated movies.
Ugh.
We're going to rant about those, and then we're going to discuss the movies that we felt actually should have been nominated for Best Picture,
Yeah.
because we firmly believe that there were better films last year.
Oh, hell yeah.
Our
By
nominees,
not a little bit.
not by a little bit, are All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar, Elvis,
Mm.
Everything Everywhere All at Once,
Mm-hmm.
Tar, The Banshees of Inisherin,
Mm-hmm.
The Fablemans,
Mm-hmm.
Top Gun Maverick,
Mm-hmm.
Triangle of Sadness, and Woman Talking. Those are for this year. I want to praise Hollywood for two things. I'm going to give you a shit sandwich. I'm going to say something nice, and then complain. One, I appreciate that as of the recording of this on March 7th, 9 of these 10 films are available for home viewing.
Yes.
Um, I really appreciated that. So I did
Mm-hmm.
not have to go out and spend a whole lot of money
Buku
trying to
ducks.
catch these films. There's only one. Avatar is the only one still in theaters right now.
Yeah.
James Cameron, come off your high horse. Um, James Cameron,
A
come off your
horse,
high. Mm-hmm.
child, a horse he should not be on. But that's we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into
Right.
it. Okay, go on.
The second thing I appreciate about this list is that there are some blockbusters on it, some movies that actually made money and that were popular with the masses, as well as art house films that are always on, that seem to always get nominated for Best Picture.
Right. Films no one's seen. But like
Films.
people like us whose job it is to watch them.
After the nominations came out, one of the podcasts I listened to, when they did the Best Picture list, they went, Triangle of Sadness? What is this?
Exactly.
Nobody had seen nor heard of that movie
Exactly.
until it got nominated.
Yeah.
Or very few people had seen nor heard of that movie until it got nominated.
Yeah.
So I just want to give those two praises. Actually, I'm gonna do a third one. I told Belle beforehand that I did a little bit of research, collected a
A
little
little
bit of
bit.
data. I collected some data so that as we get into this conversation, that we are
Well
um,
informed.
well informed. Um, I forgot where that thought was going. It'll come back.
In the meantime,
In the
the
meantime,
shit
it'll come back.
sandwich part.
Huh?
The things you praise now get to the shit sandwich part. That's the what I'm here for.
What the fuck? What the fuck? I'm not supposed to be cussing. My bad. Oh, stop. I'm not even gonna lie. Five of these movies I would not have watched or would have cared about at all if they had not gotten nominated.
Yes. 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 That's it in a nutshell.
Hmm.
Genuinely, not even that.
Hmm.
It's not even that, okay, the usual all white suspects were nominated. It's that
Hmm.
the movies aren't even good.
God,
Or
they're
if they are good, they're technically good, but they don't have any emotional heart to them. So they were boring, which is actually worse than if I'd straight up hated them.
right,
You know what I mean? It's worse to me. That's somehow worse because if I hated them, then it would have evinced a strong feeling. But I can honestly say at least three of these movies I had to rewatch because I didn't remember them. That's worse.
I'm telling you, there's one or two of them in there that I made it 20 minutes in and said, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. Like they were pretty, but I can't.
Yeah.
And I ain't even go. And you know, the only reason I saw Avatar was for Pop Culture Uncovered. I wrote a review. We'll link it below. Um, um, that is the only reason I saw Avatar, and I have no desire ever to see it again. And I don't care about the other sequels that are coming. I don't
Yes,
care.
I told Ron last night because I was trying to get through it again. And I
Mhm,
said, there's three more of these coming. And Ron went,
mhm,
what? And I was like, it's three more. There's three
mhm.
more. And he was like, but why?
And as much as I love Marvel, and I'm going to say this, I blame Marvel.
Yep, I absolutely, especially since Avatar is under the Disney brand as well.
Yeah,
They went, oh, look at what Star Wars and Marvel. You know what? We got another franchise we could be making a ton of money off of. Let's do
right.
that. Yes.
And the thing is, and if Avatar had been what I'm going to say is um a documentary about Pandora, I'd have enjoyed that more. Look, here's how the water people live, and here's how the mountain people live, and here's how the air people live. I would
like
rather
a
watch
full
that for 3 hours.
documentary.
Yeah,
I would
a
watch
full
that.
doc. I
I
would
would
rather
rather
watch that
than what you got.
than what I got.
Well, let's get into it. Let's just start. We'll start at the top. Um,
Okay.
let's get into starting with. I literally just went. I went through them alphabetically. I watching them alphabetically. Um,
Okay.
so I mean, if we want to start with Avatar, we can go into that. I'm fine with that because
It, it,
hi, little girl.
Avatar
Uh,
wasn't good. It's a movie. It exists. It's pretty.
as I have
It
said
got.
before, go ahead.
Mhm. No, no, no.
Go
As
ahead.
we said, as we discussed earlier, it's not even technically as good as some other films that were not nominated, which we will be getting into in this conversation. The movies that
Yes,
actually we would have rather have seen
should have been
nominated.
nominated. So for me,
Mm,
I've only in my life walked out of two films. The
mhm,
first was Titanic. The second was the first Avatar. After that was pretty much when I started washing my hands of James Cameron. I was just like,
mm,
oh, okay, this is what we're doing now. Okay, which
mhm,
is kind of heartbreaking for me because he's behind two of my favorite films ever, which is Aliens and
mhm.
Terminator, the Terminator series, the first two Terminators.
Right, I get that.
But I couldn't stand either of those movies. They, to me, were extremely not well written, especially the first Avatar. For me,
Mhm,
I don't understand how you can mess up Titanic when it's based on a true story and it's not a well written movie. And it doesn't help that I didn't like the leads either. Uh,
mhm.
but
I can get that.
uh, still, yeah, there have been movies where I didn't like the leads, but I enjoyed their performances.
Mhm,
That movie was not one of them. So I was already leery about Avatar. And it was now officially the third movie that I've walked out of because I hated it. And for me, the thing is, the script is weak, and everybody seems to be having orgasms over the special effects. And I'm like, they're no better. In all honesty, they're really not. This is, first of all, the avatar, the creatures themselves,
Mm-hmm.
the actual people of the movie are ugly. They
Mm-hmm.
are visually unpleasant to look at. I find them very. If you're going to make them be these aliens, they are very visually unappealing to me. And I am a sci-fi girl. Secondly, the everybody's like, this is the part for me that I don't get. Everybody is having these whole like, oh, it's so much gorgeous, so gorgeous visually, even if like the script is weak. And I'm like, it's giving Attack of the Clones. It's giving Farscape season 2 and 3 when they were thrown more money by the Sci-Fi Network. It's
Mm-hmm.
giving, and those were better special effects and practical effects for both of those movies. It's giving it's not giving anything groundbreaking. I see better than that on television, which I will say part of that for both of the things that I mentioned, specifically for Farscape, it's because there's practical effects. There's things you can touch. And I will say that visually, my brain immediately knows that it's not a real thing.
Right.
Whereas because on, I don't know if you ever watched the Farscape series when it was on Sci-Fi Channel.
I
It
did
was
not.
fantastic. But they all of the creatures were done by the Henson Creature Shop. So there were things that you could physically touch. The
Right.
actors were physically interacting with these Muppets who were sometimes were this big and sometimes were gigantic. And so there's a difference in how that plays. It's a difference by how the light hits it when it's something that's actually there. So for me, I'm like, is it that great? Or does it look like the same thing? I mean, honestly, it reminded me mostly of Pacific Rim 1 and 2.
Mm.
I'm not kidding, except for I believe,
You're ready for the cheese.
yeah, but I believe the creatures in Pacific Rim and in the Monsterverse,
Mm-hmm.
Godzilla versus Kong, Godzilla Kong Skull Island, I
I love
believe
it.
those more than what I believed in this.
I can agree with that. My main issue with Avatar: Way of the Water was as the film was coming towards the end, I was definitely going, "Oh, that scene is Apocalypse Now. Oh, that scene is Titanic. We're sinking another ship. That scene is this." I'm like, "Why am I not getting?"
So derivative.
Yes, and I get it. We, not we, but directors and producers do pay homage to other films, but they don't feel like direct ripoffs from the other films. I'll say it that way. Um, I just, I just came from Creed 3 and of something in the training montage. I'm like, yep, that's harkening back to the source material without being the source material. And that is what I felt with Avatar: Way of the Water. I was not here for it.
It very much felt like he was cribbing ideas from several other sources, and it can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, Star Wars as a franchise is, what if you took samurai films, a good old fashioned medieval knight's tale, and mixed it with a western?
Mm-hmm.
That is Star Wars. And
Good point.
blatantly, for those of us who know, blatantly ripping off books 1 and 2 of the Dune series, which I
Mm-hmm.
understand why a lot of people who were into Dune hated Star Wars, because they were like, excuse the hell out of me, because this is the same shit. Okay, but I get it. You can,
Mm-hmm.
and just for those that watching, you can like both. It's okay. Uh,
It's allowed.
it's allowed. You're allowed to like both. But yeah, so I mean, and Lucas will be the first to tell you that he was heavily influenced by Herbert, by Kurosawa, by all these old samurai films. but it
Mhm.
doesn't feel like a ripoff. It feels like an homage. And it's
Right.
very interesting that you said that, because when you said that, it made me think of one of the films we're going to talk about later, which is Note,
Mhm.
which has a lot of references to other things in its genre without being, which are more subtle, and not freaking scene by scene ripoffs, but with aliens. And um, does it feel derivative? Feels like
Mhm.
a lovingly homage to the thing as opposed to a derivative thing.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, well, as I said before we got online, and we're going to talk about later, if you were going to nominate a sequel
Mhm.
basically for its special effects, and you didn't nominate Wakanda Forever, which had a Herculean task,
A huge task.
um, and did it well. And this is coming
Mhm.
from someone who had no desire to see it because of the Herculean task that it had to pull off.
Mhm.
I don't I don't understand why. But actually I do, because Ron made a good point, which is this feels very much like we're still fighting against change.
Yeah, we definitely
We're
are.
still fighting against us not being the arbiters of what
Mhm.
is and isn't cinema. So let's
Right.
keep nominating these old heads whose movies aren't doing anything different or new or interesting,
Mhm.
uh, and blatantly ignoring far better works by POCs and LGBTQIA and women,
Mhm.
when it's obvious you're ignoring it. You're choosing to ignore it
Yeah.
because we're starting to feel irrelevant. So we want to make sure that we're giving the things to people who are just like us. And when he said that, I was like,
Mhm. He's
and
right.
that's the tea. He
He's
ain't
right.
wrong. He ain't wrong. All right.
Um, All Quiet on the
Ugh.
Western Front. That was actually the first one.
Technically, it was the first one of the
Mhm.
group. Uh,
It's a war film. It's Hollywood, and it's a remake based on a book.
mhm.
Um, it's
That's been done 3 times. Now this
yeah.
is the third time, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
Okay,
It's in German. I appreciate them.
that's the first thing I said. I did appreciate that they cast German actors, and they said it was in Germany. It was set in Germany, and they cast German
Yeah,
actors.
yeah. But other than that, I think it's living off of the goodwill of, was it 1917?
17. Yep,
From
that's so funny. That is literally what I said to Ron when I had to rewatch it.
Mhm.
You say what you're gonna say. It's so funny. You should say that because it's just great minds. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, 1917. All right, the next one is Elvis.
Um, Let me unpack All Quiet real quick.
Go ahead.
It was visually stunning.
Hmm.
I will say, I love a good, beautiful, atmospheric film.
Hmm.
Uh, the the acting really was great. It was
Hmm.
very well acted. Um, and I enjoyed the musical choices. I thought the musical choices in that movie were outstanding. Like it definitely should have gotten a score nomination because the
Right.
musical choices in that film were really good. In all honesty, I felt every time the music changed, I felt why it was changing. If that makes sense, it felt
Makes
like it was
sense.
in your soul the way the music enhanced each scene.
Right.
But to your point, we've seen this movie already.
We've
We
seen
saw
this
it with 1917. We saw it with The
with
Beach. We saw it.
Dunkirk.
What was the one that was Dunkirk that we just saw? We've seen
Yeah.
this movie over and over. We've seen this movie every 2 years.
Yep.
War Horse,
Mm.
Dunkirk, 1917, The
What is the
Beach.
fascination with
Um,
World War One all of a sudden? I know we ran World War Two into the ground
we
probably
ran it
40,
into the
50 years ago,
ground
and we ran and but what's the fascination with World War One all of a
because
sudden?
that was the last time that Germany was considered the heroes, and Germany is taking a much bigger space in the EU and
Mhm.
in the world stage. They are coming out in front on the
Mhm.
world stage in a way that they hadn't since before World War II. In the
Okay.
last 20 years, Germany has really taken a much more bigger role. And
Mhm.
so you're starting to see films that reflect that actually before Hitler, Germany wasn't actually a bad place to be. So, so yeah, that's why. I can tell you that right now. That's what it is. It's
Okay.
politics. It's all motivated by politics, baby. All right, next one.
Wait a second. I'm gonna step back for 1 second. All Quiet on the Western Front can be watched on Netflix. Avatar: Way of the Water is only in theaters. The next one is Elvis, which is available on HBO Max, or you can rent it. Um, the other piece of information that I pulled when I was doing my research is the source of all of these projects. Um, as I mentioned, All Quiet on the Western Front is based on a book. Avatar is a sequel. Elvis, of course, is based on a true story. Baz Luhrmann's Elvis is based on a true story. I will
Yes.
start. I did not. When I saw the trailer for the Elvis film, I said, "Oh, this is another Tom Hanks Oscar play." Um, and I was concerned about how good or bad the movie was going to be just from watching the trailer. I watched the film probably about 3 weeks ago, and we're going to walk down the two things can be true at the same time. There are some aspects of the Elvis story that are missing. Um, his Whether or not he was a racist or that part of it, they didn't dive deeply enough into how much he leaned on R&B culture to make his image. That being said, I think as a movie, as a representation of Elvis's life, I think it is fantastic. I think I do believe it deserves it. I do believe it deserved its award. Um, if there is one thing, the number one thing I appreciated about this film, it definitely goes into Austin. Oh, the other thing that can be true, I hated what Tom Hanks was doing in this movie.
Oh yes, that's what I was
I,
gonna say.
I
Okay,
hated what he
go.
was. I
Go.
don't know what it was, but I hated it all. Um,
You're like
but
all of your choices were wrong.
every one of them. So, but put all of that aside, the movie itself is good.
Yes.
Um, it is in these biopics, you're only going to get a glance in on different areas of the subject person's life.
Mhm.
And I think they did it exactly right, like where they peek in and where they come out. It corrected one of the mistakes that they made in the Whitney Houston movie, which was also an Oscar play. Um, and I'm sorry to
No,
the
baby
people that were
girl.
producing that, because let me tell y'all what the number one thing y'all did wrong that Elvis did right.
I'm listening.
We saw him descend into the drugs, and him, and I'm just
Mhm.
going to use the word fall apart, and how everything was falling apart for him because of the drugs.
Mhm.
In this film, you watch it. That is
In
part of the
real,
art
yeah,
in real
yeah,
time.
in real time.
Um, and when I watched the Whitney movie, that was one thing I said. We know she's on drugs, but
We never see it
we never see it.
because they wanted to canonize her instead of
Yeah,
treating her like a real person,
right. And I
which
think,
is the
but the
same
thing is
mistake
that
that they made. Go
had
ahead.
they did it, I think it would have made us more. I mean, because wait a minute, because we were there. We,
That's what
we,
I was gonna say.
mhm,
We all grew up with it. We saw it. We saw it happen in real time. We know why she's dead.
yeah,
Um, it's the same mistake that they made with both Aretha Franklin movies.
mhm,
Both of them didn't treat Aretha like a fully rounded person. They
mhm,
treated her like a canon, like she was canonized, like she was a saint. And
mhm,
that's not real. Nobody, there's an old saying that I have to remind myself of, which is the best of men are men
mhm,
at best. No matter how good of a person it is,
mhm,
everybody, I don't care who you are, you're
Mhm.
going to mess up. You're going to make choices. You're going to hurt people. Will it
Right.
be intentional? No.
Mhm.
Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But when you start acting like someone because they've passed, suddenly they are a saint. That's not a realistic view. And a biopic doesn't, like, the best biopics
Mhm.
for me, the one about teen, what's love got to do with it?
Mhm.
Um, Elton John's, where he put himself out there in a way. Elton John did not have to put his business in the street like that.
I even go even because
Rocket Man, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Ray was excellent
Ray,
with that.
Ray, Rocket Man.
Perfect. Mhm.
What's love got to do with it? Walk the Line. The reason those four movies work in a way that this one, in a way that this one does work as well, and the
Mhm.
way that but the reason that the Aretha and Whitney ones didn't is because they allowed us to at points hate these people.
Mhm.
Because I'm still mad about the way, and I love Johnny Cash. I grew up listening to Johnny Cash, but I'm
Right.
still mad about the way he treated his first wife.
I
There's
get that.
always going to be a part of me that's going to look at him a certain type of way because of what he put his first wife through. And
Right.
this is a man who I grew up listening to. But there's always going to be a part of me that's going to be like, but you still did your first wife wrong, and so
You
did
really did it
Ray.
dirty. You did it
Yep, you
dirty.
did it. They both did their first wives dirty as hell.
Mhm.
So there's a part of me, but that's what makes those movies work.
Mhm.
Elvis for me is always, of every Baz Luhrmann film, is visually stunning.
Oh, I agree. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous.
Baz Luhrmann, that man ain't see that man's brain. I would love to just hang out in there just one day, just to know where he gets these ideas from, because he is absolutely visually stunning films, every single one of them. The movie is good. So
Mhm.
I will slightly change it. Also, I do think it deserves, I don't think Hanks, there were
They didn't
definitely
nominate him.
choices.
They did it. No, no,
I'm
like I
glad he
said,
wasn't nominated, because the choices between this and Pinocchio, I'm like, sir, what is happening? What are these?
like I said,
I get that you are Tom Hanks and you're at that point in your career where you're like, screw it, I'll do whatever I want. And I'm going to try something different. And I actually do appreciate that as an actor. I
yeah.
appreciate it as an artist. And Ron and I were having this discussion the other day. I appreciate artists who try to make something different. The Beyoncés and Taylor Swifts and Foo Fighters of the world, who they might not always hit, but every album is going to be different. So I appreciate what Tom Hanks is doing. He's trying something different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because he is Tom Hanks. He's been in this game since, I mean, literally, I grew up watching him on Bosom Buddies. He's
Right.
been in this game forever. However, the choices, baby, no, I don't appreciate them. I did not like them. The same with the ones in Pinocchio. I was like, what do we do? What?
This is not what we're doing again.
Austin
Um,
Butler was
right.
fantastic. I didn't know who this boy was until this movie. He was great in it.
I,
Um,
there is a scene. Wait a minute, and I'm going to say this: one of the perfect scene in this movie, because this was one of the things that pissed me off again. Back into the Whitney Houston movie, they talk. Tom Hanks' character talks about the last time Elvis performed
mhm,
live before he passed, and what song he was performing.
mhm.
I think it was Austin Butler at the beginning of the scene, but they faded into the recording of Elvis actually doing it, the video of
Nice,
Elvis.
nice.
And like the end scene of the Whitney Houston movie, I Want to Dance with Somebody,
Mhm.
the actress is doing the big Whitney performance. I'm like, no, y'all have it on video.
Why didn't you
Use Whitney,
transition? Just
huh?
use Whitney. Just use
Just
Whitney.
use Whitney. Um, so, but Baz did that it went from it went from Austin to actually Elvis doing it. Um, so I really appreciated that. And as far as jukebox biopics go, this was really a good one.
Now, what I will say, which is something my friend, one of the reasons it's not on my list though,
Mhm,
is because we've seen this before. To your point, we've
mhm,
seen these movies already. We've seen
mhm,
it with Elvis 4 times now.
mhm,
Because remember, there was the Kurt Russell one, There was
Yep.
like two before that. There was one before the Kurt Russell one. There was one after the Kurt Russell one. We've seen this movie before. And as a friend of mine said this weekend, I would have rather have seen the movie about, I don't know, Arthur Big Boy Crudup, or I don't know, maybe BB King,
Hmm.
or even better, hold on, Sister
Hmm.
Rosetta Tharpe.
Who was
That's
in
the
the?
person I would have preferred to see the movie about. That would have been a deeper dive. Um,
I get that.
and so for me, it's like, well, was this visually striking? Did it deserve the nom? Yes, but
We've
we've
seen.
seen this before. And that's the biggest reason why I'm just like, I don't, okay. Next.
Everything Everywhere All at Once, available currently on Showtime or for rental. It's the original piece of IP. Um, that movie has been getting all the awards, all the praise, all the love, and for the first time in a long time, I can say it is genuinely deserved.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
Yes,
This
that.
movie, we, for Drunk Review, we did our best end of the year, best films of
Mhm.
2022. And this was one of the ones that, nope, and this were one of the ones that pretty much we universally picked of the, and what I said to that was, this movie is everything the
Mhm.
most recent Matrix and Multiverse of Madness wanted to be.
I agree.
This is with not even a third, with a quarter, maybe a fifth, maybe less of a
Fifth,
budget, a
the
fifth of the
budget,
budget.
according to Wikipedia, the budget for this film was $25 million.
Yeah. And yet it did all of the things that those two movies with
Yeah.
triple, double, quadruple the budget couldn't pull off. The heart. One of the things that a lot of and I know you and I've talked about this before, Marvel fatigue has
Hmm.
kicked in hardcore,
Hmm.
is because a lot of these films feel like we're checklisting.
Yeah.
This has to happen so that we can move on to the next thing in the series. It's one of the reasons why Wakanda Forever felt so fresh to me.
Right.
Because circumstances forced them to do not
Something
that.
different.
Yeah.
There's
Uh,
there's a larger conversation that we need to have about that whole thing, and I know exactly the person to bring in for it.
so it very much, it was beautifully shot. It was
Mhm.
extremely inventive. It was so smartly written. And like I said in Drunk Review, I feel like all of the movies I ended up picking for me in Drunk Review were
Mhm.
about family and
Yeah.
family trauma and generational trauma. Every single film I ended up picking by accident was not not the plan, but ended up being about generational trauma and
Mhm.
how we do and don't deal with it. It was not like, again, it was not my choice, but it was like Turning Red. Um, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Nope. And it was like, wait a minute, I picked the most depressing but also uplifting movies. Um,
Mhm.
and it was about that, about family dynamics. And there was, this is the thing, it was missing from both this one, hush Snowball, from
Mhm.
this one and
Mhm.
from Multiverse of Madness and from Matrix, was the heart. There was
Like,
no heart in those movies. They left me a little cold. Were they visually impressive? Yes. But
mm,
was my heart engaged? Was I checked out of my computer? Was I watching it while watching something, while doing something else? No.
exactly.
No,
Exactly.
I wasn't. Because I didn't even bother seeing Multiverse of Madness in the theaters. I waited until it came out on Disney Plus, and I was watching it with half an eye. Uh,
Mm.
this movie, if, as I said online, at this point, Michelle and Angela better bring it home. That's all I gotta say, because I'm so pissed about who was nominated for what in these various categories. that I don't know. Only people I'm freaking rooting for are Michelle and Angela at this point. I'm so mad. I'm so mad,
I,
y'all. I'm so
I got
mad.
I got one. I got come back for my prediction show because I'm gonna say something really wild. I'm gonna say I got a couple of wild things to say. All
Okay.
right, Tar currently available on Peacock, which is an original story. That was 2 hours and 38 minutes of boredom for me. It is supposed to be a psychological drama about a, a sex scandal of some sort for the main character and cancel culture. This is according to what I've read online.
You're like, that's what it was supposed to be about because I sure as hell don't know.
I had to go read to find out what was this movie supposed to be about. And the thing is that something happens in the movie. If you haven't seen it yet, it's on Peacock.
You can watch it.
You can watch it because we ain't gonna be on this conversation much longer on this part of this
No,
for this movie.
no.
Um, there's something that happens in the film that they edit and release to make it look worse. And had that would have been the
The better
inciting heart
story.
thing of the movie, I think the
Mm-hmm.
movie would have been better.
Would have been a banger. I know
It would have
exactly
been a
what
banger,
you're talking about.
huh?
Yep.
You know
I
exactly.
said I know exactly what you're talking about, and it would have been a banger. That was the much more interesting thing that was happening.
Yes, like if they'd have just taken that the inciting event, maybe 5 minutes later, the video shows up on TikTok, and then the reactions to how this is wrong. Had that been the mill, Tar would have been a better movie.
Yep.
Any further comments?
um, Kate back on her bullshit again. Now I
Hmm.
have a interesting. Do I like Kate Blanchett?
Hmm.
Yes. Do I think she's starting to believe her own hype?
Hmm.
Yes.
I agree.
Um, do I think that she needs to have a come to Jesus moment very soon before she opens her mouth in one more interview and crosses into Gwyneth Paltrow territory?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I
Agree.
do. Because she is rapidly approaching the I don't even want to her interviews in real life are rapidly approaching the unless it's a movie with a giant ensemble and you are a small part of it, I do not want to watch it level.
I get that.
Um, this movie was boring,
Hmm.
pretentious,
Hmm.
annoying because this is a real person who's still doing the same bullshit, by the way, in real life. Like she's a real person and she's
Oh, so you're
still
saying
on
it's
her
based on a
bullshit.
real person? It's based on
It
a
is,
real person.
yeah,
Okay.
Tara's a real human being.
Okay.
She
No, because
that
everything I've said it was fictional.
it's based on a real person.
Okay, I figured
And
as much. I figured as much,
it's
but
based on a real person. And
mhm.
yeah. And she's still on her bullshit in real life too. So it was a movie.
It
Let's
was a
move on.
movie. It was The Banshees of Inisherin, available on HBO Max and currently for rent.
I really want to hear what you thought of this movie.
I
You
didn't
didn't
like it.
like it.
I
I
found it to
loved
be
it.
boring. I found it to be a slog. I like Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell. I thought the scenery was beautiful.
Hmm.
Um, I like the fact that we got to the inciting incident within the
Hmm.
first 5 minutes.
Hmm.
But other than that, I was left cold.
I love this director is the same director, and actually forgot about that.
Hmm.
It's Martin McDonough,
Okay.
and he is reunited. Farrell and Brendan Gleeson are once again together again
Hmm.
after In Bruges. Um, I have loved every movie McDonough's ever made as a
Hmm.
rule. I actually really like this movie. It's the only one on this list that I unequivocally was like, yes, I love this. This should be here. So it's very interesting because I do understand that why people
Mm.
Martin McDonagh is an acquired taste.
I can agree. Okay.
That's the only way I could put it. It's kind of like he's kind of like a David Lynch. You either like him or you don't. And it's kind of no in between. I'm one of the few people who was like, I like about half of David Lynch's movies, and the other half, I'm like, girl, honey, no, you trying too hard. Do less. And I'm like, so do less.
Let's just do
So
less. Mhm.
yeah, so I could definitely get it. But for me,
Mhm.
and it's funny because the play I just watched this weekend, depending upon when this comes out, it should still be it should still be at Fells Point Corner Theater. It's called Dead Man's Cell Phone by Sarah Rule. This movie and that play, so it's been a back-to-back weekend of this, are about mourning and grief.
Yeah.
And due to personal losses in the last 2 years, they both hit me very different. I'm sure you understand that considering in real
Yeah.
life stuff. Um,
Mhm.
that so for me, this movie worked because when the moment you realize that they're in purgatory,
Mhm.
it changes everything. Like I had to go be right back and rewatch it because the first half of the movie you don't get. So
Mhm.
spoilers, everybody. So
Mhm.
the first half of the movie
Mhm.
you don't realize it, but they're telling you from the first half. So then I went back and rewatched it and I was like, oh, they told us from the top. Oh, okay, okay. But it was just an incredibly sad movie to me. And for a small part of me, the movie was a little triggering. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
lie. I've been having a lot of things lately that have been reminding me of how much I'm mourning, as it were.
Mhm.
Um, Come here,
Poor
sweet girl.
puppy.
She knows it's almost time for her daddy to come pick her up.
Mhm.
So she's waiting. Uh because she can't hear, but she can tell time apparently. Uh, that little baby girl.
Mhm.
Um but I definitely get that if you don't if Martin McDonagh's style is not for you,
Mhm.
I can see how this movie would be off-putting. uh I definitely understand this. I can get why, because
Mhm.
I from everyone I know, it's been very divisive for everybody. Some people really liked it like me, and some people
Mhm.
were like, I did not enjoy this. It was boring, or I just straight up hated it. There was not no in between.
I
So
will. I have no other plans. Actually, I have one thing I have to do this afternoon. So I will uh carry my. I'll try again. But as
you're
of
like, but as of right now, it's a no for me, dog.
it's a no for me, dog. The
Yeah.
Fablemans. The Fablemans. It's available for rental, and it is a fictionalized account. So it is based on a true story from
It's
Steven
based on
Spielberg's
Steven
life.
Spielberg's life.
It's based on Steven Spielberg's life. I when I categorized the films, I gave them what is the source material? Is it a book? Is it a sequel? Is it an original tale, or is it based on a true story? Like I had true stories as originals, but I went no because they are based on
They're
something.
based on,
So
yeah.
they're based on a true story. Um, Actually, I have this one at number 4 on my ballot of the films, so I didn't hate it. Um, Honestly, I think if he'd have flat out and came and said, I think if he'd have done the Spielbergs and made it a biopic about himself, and that these were the stories and how he was learning how to shoot and learning how to be a director, I think that would have like ticked it up a little bit more for me.
Mhm.
Instead of it being, oh, this is a fictionalized account of, my life. But other than that, I did like it. Like I said, the scale of, 1 to 10, it's a 7. It's a solid 7. It's not bad. It's not something I'm going to be running back. Oh, it's on TNT. The Fablemans is on. No, not going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's in a nutshell. Um,
Mhm,
is it a good movie? Yes.
mhm.
Is it Oscar worthy? No.
No.
Was it nominated because it's about Steven Spielberg and this is a wink fest for him?
And
Yes.
it's a film, and it's a film about Hollywood. That's the other thing that Hollywood
Yes,
loves.
they love movies about themselves. And this is Ron sent me a message and he said this is exactly what happened in the 70s with the filmmaker revolution led by Scorsese, Coppola, and Spielberg. Now they are the ones fighting to be the establishment instead of fighting against it.
Mhm.
And the nomination of this movie specifically is very much them and those of their generation basically saying, well, we're not going anywhere and we refuse to be us for no more, close the door.
Right. Exactly.
Which
Exactly.
credit where is due, of all of those dudes from that time frame, George Lucas is the only one who was always make space for other people and is bringing everybody up with him. He is
Mhm.
the only one. He's the only one you consistently see going, I want this entire generation after me to do things that I would have never thought of.
I agree with that. I agree with
He's
that.
the only one. And that's depressing.
Mhm.
Honestly, it's
I
so
agree.
depressing.
I
Um,
agree.
this movie should have never made it to the nomination process beyond Michelle Williams getting a Best Actress nomination. That's it. Michelle Williams is fantastic in this
Oh,
movie.
she is. I agree with that. She is.
He's fantastic, and what's our boy from Taxi and
Oh,
uh
Judd Hirsch. Judd
Judd
Hirsch.
Hirsch is phenomenal in this. He is so good in this movie. He should
I
have
agree.
gotten.
And it's the definition
He
of a
des-
supporting actor
he
performance. He was there
deserves a
and
supporting
he was
actor
gone.
nom. He was so great, and it was what 10 minutes of film screen time,
10 minutes,
but
10
he made
minutes, 10
such an
minutes.
impression that
Mhm.
I remember him more than anything else in the damn movie.
I agree with that.
So
I
those
agree with
two deserved, but it getting a best film nomination in this
There were better
economy.
films. There were better films. We have
Far,
commentary
far
about
more.
that.
We're gonna get into those in a bit. Yeah,
We got
yeah,
three
yeah,
more. We
yeah.
got three more in the Oscar nomination pool. Top Gun Maverick, currently available on
Okay.
Amazon, on Paramount Plus, and available for rental. This is actually, and as noted, it is a sequel. It's the second sequel on the film on the list this year. Go ahead. I'll let you start. I started on the last one.
This movie shouldn't be here.
Mhm.
It's just that simple. It should not be here. Was it a great popcorn film? Yes. Was it a great sequel? Yes. Should it be nominated for a freaking Oscar? It should be nominated for an Oscar if Scream 2 gets nominated for an Oscar.
Mhm.
Uh, then yes. If you're going to nominate sequels that are building on the previous franchise well, then Empire Strikes Back, Scream 2, Aliens, Terminator 2 should have been nominated for Oscars, but they weren't.
Okay. Um, on my ranked ballot, this is my number two.
I hate this movie, yo. I don't know. I can't say that. I can't say that I hate it. Let me say this. I don't hate the movie. I hate that it was nominated.
Okay, I can agree
But
with
of
that.
the things on this ballot that were nominated,
Mhm. Yeah,
I
remember that's where we are
of the
right now.
things on this ballot,
On this
fine.
ballot,
On this shitty ass
these are the
ballot,
10
then yes.
choices. Of these 10 choices
Come
that
on,
we are
Stas.
forced with, that is my number two. That is my number two. Um, what I liked about it is that it felt like a continuation of the story.
From
It
the
and
original
it
film.
and it and it, of the original film. It was an age appropriate update of the film. They didn't like de-age him and make the film like early, try to
No.
make it feel like early 2000s. They brought it to today. I know there are people that do not like Miles Teller, the actor that played Rooster, Goose's son. However, they picked an actor that looked like Goose.
Oh yeah, he does look like Anthony Edwards. He
He looks like
absolutely looks like Anthony Edwards with hair. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's his son. Um, so I appreciated that. I appreciated that they touched on that portion of the story because yeah, you were my father's best friend and your ass got him killed. Like we need to talk about that. Like we need to fight that out.
You straight up got him murked.
Yeah. I liked the stuff with Iceman. I liked that they incorporated Val Kilmer's illnesses into the script because that felt important to me too. That Val be there.
I've gotten so much Val this year and I didn't expect it because if you're not watching Willow, all I can say is go watch Willow. Okay. I'm not going to spoil anything else for you, but it is joy making. Go ahead.
So to say that, and from what I am hearing on in podcasts and what I've been reading, one of the arguments that are being made for Top Gun's inclusion is the fact that for 2022, after 2020 and 2021, that was really the first film to bring everybody back in seats. That film made it made 1 billion, just under $1.5 billion in the theater before it came home for home viewing. So
this was a nomination to thank Tom Cruise for reopening the box office. That's all this nomination was for, which that's what the Producers Guild of America is for.
Right.
Not the Oscars. You want to give him credit for helping to save the box office, give him his PGA award. But this movie is not on this terrible list. Yes, it's an Oscar-worthy movie. But again, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other films that should have been on this list. And one of them also saved the box office and was done for, once again, a quarter of the budget. And we'll get into that later.
We're coming around the corner.
Coming around that mountain.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I got one sentence for this film and we can stop talking about it. Triangle of Sadness. What the hell? I'm done. I want my 2 hours, 30 minutes, and $7 back.
I want my money back.
I want my money back.
It's very much a art house film. Lots of big ideas. It reminded me of Old from M. Night Shyamalan with the twist and the circumstances. A bunch of strangers end up on the beach and the twistiness and the turniness of it. It wanted to be a horror comedy. It wanted to be a lot of things. And
it wanted to be a lot of things, but a waste of money. And that's what it was. And the only reason I watched the entire film was because I paid for
it. It couldn't be me, Sam. Because I can understand. I understand. I feel like it wanted to be so many things, and therefore it couldn't nail any of them.
Yeah. Nothing about it to me. It didn't make sense. It didn't resolve at all, badly or well. It just didn't resolve.
Yeah.
It's just no.
Yeah. It definitely felt like it wasn't. They were going for an open and ambiguous ending, but it didn't feel like there was as much thought. You could sum up the movie by saying it didn't feel like there was a lot of thought. It was somebody threw a bunch of ideas and strung them together for a film. And that is what we got. And that's so it just didn't feel like it was well thought out to me. It was a lot.
No.
I don't get how it got nominated because if you want to do art house films, there's 2 on my list that should have gotten on that were art house films that would have made more sense to me. And one of them is extremely polarizing. You either loved it or you hated it, honey, but there was no in between. But at least there was you could tell what they were trying to do. And there was a point to it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. The last film, which just came out available for rental last week, is Women Talking, which is based on a book and a true story.
Yeah, the true story is horrifying. And I
Hmm.
actually deeply appreciate that they didn't show us any of that.
I agree.
I don't need to see any more violence against women. Thank you. I
Hmm.
see and hear about it enough every day. Verbal, physical, mental. I don't need to see that. Uh,
Right.
so the movie is about the aftermath. If you don't know, in Bolivia, I want to say in 19 no, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, in 2009, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I knew.
It's somewhere between 2007 2009 for like a 2 year period. There was a Mennonite village where the women were being assaulted every single night, and they felt like they
Hmm.
were dying, and they physically felt like they couldn't fight back because they felt like they were paralyzed, and they genuinely thought that there was a demon, because what else would
Right.
make sense? And then it turns out that the
Mhm.
entire time it was the men of the village who were drugging them during the daytime so that they could rape them, even the young ones, even the actual
Ooh,
teenagers and little girls. And
yeah.
so I didn't need to see none of that. And I'm very thankful that they didn't show, which I is will say is a point to having a woman director. Because if a man had directed this movie, they would have shown us. I keep thinking of the last Kingdom or whatever that terrible ass movie was with Ben
You're right.
Affleck and Adam Driver. That movie,
Hmm.
we would have seen it from three different angles, you know, as I
That,
called it,
that
the
would
rape
definitely, that definitely would have
television.
been the 20 minutes, another 20 minutes of this film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for that note, I appreciate it. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate that. Everything else was absolutely drudgery.
It was. We were being
Uh,
dragged by our, we were
it
being
was
dragged by the
very,
ages
it
across
was
rocks.
very boring. And here's the thing: this is the kind of a movie that should have been right up my particular alley. Female director, a female cast that I genuinely enjoy. I get why they were almost all white women, because even though it was set in Bolivia, this Mennonite colony were from Europe, and therefore and Mennonites are not exactly known for bringing in outsiders, so they wouldn't have been intermingling with the people of Bolivia. So I get that. It's like I said with All Quiet on the Western Front, the one time that it's okay to cast all white people and it makes sense, this is it.
Right.
Um, so
Like I said, yeah, that didn't bother me.
I get
Like I
that.
said, the cast
That
didn't
didn't
bother
bother
me.
me.
Hmm.
Casting didn't bother me. It was everything else.
Hmm.
I it was
I was
it
bored.
was rough, yo. It was rough getting through
I
this.
was bored to
It was
tears.
rough.
I was bored.
It was so
I
boring.
was bored. So
And that's I watch movies that are just conversations that aren't boring. I keep thinking of My Dinner with Andre.
bored. Hmm.
That is a movie that's literally a conversation, and it's fantastic. This ain't
Hmm.
it. This ain't it.
I,
Um, which if you haven't seen My Dinner with Andre, go see My Dinner with Andre. Wallace Shawn is just perfection in it. Um, the, it was just boring. It was boring, and also, um, I hate to say it, but I wasn't emotionally connected to these people, even though I knew it was a real life story and it was a real life based off a real life situation. I was not emotionally, I wasn't
I think
emotionally connected to them. And
now
with this
those,
cast, how do you do that?
especially this cast.
I mean, you got Frances McDormand, you've got Sarah Paulson,
But
you've got my
but
girl
Frances
from
is
one of
doing
the,
what she does.
yeah, you got my girl. Although I will say Frances has been phoning it in. The only time she hasn't phoned it in was in Macbeth. She's been kind of riding on in the last 5 or 6 years. She's been kind of riding being Frances McDormand a lot. Whereas in
True.
Macbeth, she was phenomenal and absolutely terrifying and creepy, and I really enjoyed her in it. And that was the last time her and Denzel were both on their A game in that movie in a way that they haven't been in a long time.
I
Uh
need to sit down with that. I meant to, but I just hadn't.
Al, it's so
With the
good.
movement.
It's so good. So good. You'll enjoy that a great deal.
All right,
So
just
yeah,
real
it
quick, since
definitely was a movie that happened.
so
Now,
everyone, so that you can expand your screen, I took
you're like, if you could
the
embiggen
time
for me.
and I said, the audience thought about. And what you will notice from this graphic is the following. The top rated film overall from critics is Top Gun Maverick. The worst film, and this is supposed to be in order from by the critics, is Triangle of Sadness. And by the audience. The audience don't like it either.
Nobody likes it.
Nobody else said, how did it get here? I think it's the same thing you were talking about with the Fabelmans. It's living on somebody's goodwill. And this is just the raw data of the situation to talk about.
Yeah, that's just the data.
I also find it interesting that Avatar Way of the Water is also low.
Because that movie is not good.
So what is everybody? It is not. It isn't. So we talk. So, but I just wanted to take a moment. So after the Oscar nominations came out, I went to our PCU crew and said, hey, y'all, what movie do you think should have been nominated? Because there's definitely at least, I can name 5 that I can pick off and be like, yeah, no, there's at least 5 better movies. My 2 choices were Glass Onion, which is a sequel available on Netflix. And I say this as I was also a fan of the original Knives Out.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the fact that Rian Johnson calls it a Knives Out mystery, because it's not even, it's a sequel, but it's not, because it's a new story. It's a new whodunit, and it's a whodunit done well. I'd see how they run in the theaters, and we're getting back to that mass ensemble whodunit type film.
I love those.
I love those. They're coming back.
Yeah.
But you got to do it right. And Glass Onion, if they're going to do it, if this genre is coming back, everybody watch Glass Onion, because it is so good. It is so good in that genre.
I think it might actually be better than Knives Out.
I'd have to watch them both again back to back to make. I'll say it this way: I watched Glass Onion twice in the same day. I watched it, and then my friend came over, and we're sitting like, we need something to watch. You need to see Glass Onion, and I turned it back on again. I'm like, yeah, I watched it earlier.
And I'm saying that as somebody who hates most of Rian Johnson's work, I like Looper, Glass Onion, and Knives Out, and that's it. I hated The Last Jedi. I hated that movie so bad. I'm still pissed about it. Like, it's been 5 years, and I'm still angry. I'm still legit angry about that movie. And I haven't liked a lot of his other work, but those 3 movies are really good.
The next one I'm going to say is one we're going to agree on. So we're going to open up the conversation right now with The Woman King, currently available on Netflix. The Woman King.
Listen, let's pull up what that budget was. I want to make sure I have this correct.
The budget for the film was $50 million.
And how much did that movie make?
That movie made $944 million. These numbers, any numbers that I have given for budgets and how much the movie has made, I should have said this at the beginning, come from Wikipedia. I just went there because I just wanted, I didn't need exact numbers. I just wanted
a general idea.
A general idea. So, and that was where I knew both numbers were. Also, I will say that the critic score, the critic Rotten Tomatoes for Woman King was a 94.
Mm-hmm.
The audience was a 99.
Mm-hmm. But Avatar Way of Water was nominated over The Woman King. And Top Gun Maverick was nominated over The Woman King.
Yes. Now remember. Now we
The Woman
mentioned that.
King also helped save the box office. The Woman King, I will
Because
say, might be on par with Maverick for helping to save the box office because folks were literally
I agree.
renting out theaters so that people could see this movie
Mm,
all over the country.
hmm.
We came out,
Agreed.
black folks came out in droves for this movie. So you mean to tell me if you want to nominate
Mm,
a movie for saving film, and this is before Wakanda Forever, keep this in
yep.
mind, for not even a quarter, a fifth of the budget that Top Gun Maverick was made, this movie made
Hold
almost the same,
on one
like came
second.
up.
Keep talking. I'm just making sure I didn't put an extra zero in because I'm reading this correctly. The Woman King actually, okay, I made a mistake. It made 90. I put one too many zeros on my sheet.
But
My
it
bad.
still made a ton of money in direct proportion to what it was made
It did.
for.
I
And
agree.
people came out to see this film in a way
Mhm,
that I haven't seen, specifically the Black community, specifically
mhm,
women, I haven't seen since Wonder Woman
mhm,
and the Black Panther came out.
mhm.
Women and Black people
Right.
came out for this movie in droves.
Agreed.
But that didn't count?
Nope.
Okay, sure. The
Nope. Didn't
acting,
count. Didn't matter.
the lack of special effects, which is the other thing for me.
Right.
People don't realize Gina Prince by the Wood is a genius. I actually
Hmm.
made Mary so upset when we were talking about this movie on Drunk Review because it was the one that we all universally picked.
Hmm.
When I told her that the director of Love and Basketball, Akilah and the Bee, The Old Guard, and The Woman King could have been the one that was directing the next series. She was supposed to be the Kevin Feige for Sony's Spider-Man universe. But
Mm.
so did you not know this? But
I did.
Sony dicked around for 2 years. She had already written the scripts for Morbius, which they threw
Mm.
out. And how did that work out for them? She had written the script for Black Cat and Silver Sable. She was
Mm.
supposed to be the one that was going to be the one that kicked off the universe for them. And they
Mm.
played games for 2 years. And she finally went, okay, I'm moving on. I'm going to move on because clearly you don't want what I want to give you. So I'm going to move
Right.
on. And she turned around and made the Old Guard.
Which was phenomenal. I love the Old Guard.
And then this. Are you
Hmm.
kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? Visually, and again, going to my other point about practical effects,
Hmm.
I want people when they see this movie, if you haven't seen it, go see it, to realize that there is no CGI in this movie. So all of those fight scenes that you see are done up close and personal.
Hmm.
Uh, Gina Prince Bythewood actually trained with the actors so that she would know how their bodies moved because that's how good she is. Can you imagine any other director, any of the men on this list training with their actors to make sure that they understood the dynamics
Not,
of how the fight scenes worked so that they could
not,
film it?
not at all.
She literally trained with them for every fight scene that they had in the movie so that she could understand how they physically
Mhm.
work so that when she was filming it, she had a better idea of where to put the camera. I want to see Steven Spielberg do that.
Right.
Okay.
'Cause I'm in full like you're not going to get no arguments out of me.
It is
The
such
fact
a
that
phenomenal movie.
this movie got nominated for nothing got
Not one
completely
thing.
shown. I was
Bullshit.
very annoyed.
Viola should have been nominated for Best Actress.
Hmm.
Lashana Lynch. Holy shit. Lashana Lynch.
Agreed.
Making up for how much she was wasted in Bond by far. She was
Yep.
completely wasted. She was the only good thing in that last Bond movie, in my opinion. I know some people really loved it. I hated that freaking movie. It was boring as shit, and it was a dumb. In the end, the plot basically boiled down to, oh, somebody wants to get in Bond's girl's pants. That's what the
Hmm.
whole plot of the movie really boiled down to. But Lashana Lynch was the best thing in that movie. Stole every scene. Her and Ani de Armas stole every scene they were in.
Yep.
And we get to see why in this. Lashana Lynch should have gotten her Best Supporting Actor nomination. Uh, Viola should have gotten another Oscar nom and should have freaking won. Although this year, if it had been both Viola and our girl, I don't
Michelle.
know, Michelle, I would have been like, I'm torn. Now I'm like, I just need Michelle to take it home. I just need Michelle to take it home. I don't care about any of these other bitches. I just need Michelle to take it home.
I
Um,
agree. I agree.
the costume design, the
Mm,
the richness of the scenery, the acting, the layers to the story, because every
mm,
time you think that you know everything that's going on, you peel it back and there's another layer to the story. The fact that there were points in the movie where I was openly weeping
mhm.
in this film. But at the same, and then 5 minutes later, I was like, kill them all. Like death to all of
Exactly.
them.
Exactly.
And
That
that
felt
is,
that,
the
but
balance
whew,
was there. The balance
we
was there.
needed
I was
balance.
like, it was so well balanced between wanting to murder everyone in sight
Hmm.
and at the same time being like the genuine, and there was humor. There was humor in
There
this
was
movie.
love. It was
That
so
was
good. It
so
was.
love. It was so good. It was so well done. And then from a purely selfish point of view, John Boyega spent this movie looking like a snack. God, my God, the eye candy in this movie, Lord. I was like, John Boyega, you know what? You making me feel like a dirty old woman. The things that are happening in here.
I may
Whew,
resemble that remark from a movie I've seen earlier this week. Anyway,
girl. Girl. So yes, I'm just so mad. And speaking of John Boyega, if you don't mind me jumping through to the next one for me, which was Breaking, which
go
is
ahead.
based on a true story
I had not seen
about
that one.
a that is girl, do you want to cry? Do you want
Not
to
in the movie.
cry? Do you want
No,
to be
no.
angry at the system and how we treat our veterans? Do
Yes,
you
that I
want to
can
be
do.
absolutely blown away by this
Mhm.
young man proving once again that he is the heir um to uh Denzel
Mhm.
and the range that this boy has, the range that he has. Oh my God. It's John Boyega and Nicole Bahari from Sleepy Hollow.
Okay.
If you guys don't know, and there was another great movie she was in, Miss Juneteenth. She was phenomenal in that, and that movie was also a really great movie that probably should have been nominated. It's here. Um, and the story is based off of a thing that really happened, where this gentleman served this country,
Mhm.
told them he had PTSD, tried to get help for it, and they treated him like shit, kept playing games with him getting his medications as well as his money when they would had kids. He has a child. He's trying to just make. He's
Mm-mm.
like, I can't be in their life. I can't be because I know that I'm not in the his space to be in this child's life. That I don't know if I'm going to wake up and shoot myself in the morning. I can't be in their life. But what I can do is make sure that they get college and school and food and basics, that they have what they need. And the VA played games, and he snapped. They
Mm-mm.
literally manhandled him out of the VA and threw him out. These rent-a-cops who ain't never served threw this man out and played games with his money and his medication, and he snapped. And it's also great because it's Michael K. Williams' last performance before his death.
I have heard about this
And
film. I had not seen it,
it
but
is,
I have.
it is, oh my God. The back of the
Mm,
with the dynamic between those three, because Nicole Beharie plays the bank manager at the bank that he takes, and he's
mm,
not holding it up for the money. He's holding it up because the VA won't listen. He
mhm,
literally goes, "You're going to listen to me now because the only thing y'all care about is money. So now I'm holding your money hostage. You're going to listen to me now." So the
mhm,
dynamic between them, between Michael K. Williams' character, who is a hostage negotiator, who, as the story unfolds, you see him going, this could have been prevented if y'all had just done this man right. And him hurting for John Boyega's character. He's hurt,
Mhm.
like everybody involved. By the end of it, you know it's not going to have a good ending, but you want it to, even though you
Mhm.
know it's not, because it's based on a true story. Um, but the way they show their empathy for him, the heartbreak in this film, the layers to this film, it is it is so good. And I know that to an extent, Chadwick was everybody's. He's the next great
Mhm.
Sidney Poitier, the next Denzel, the next. I think it's John. Of all of the young black actors who are
Mhm.
out right now, coming up, it's John. And I'll tell you why. He's got more range. He's funny in a way that Chadwick never was. I love Chadwick to death. You
Mhm.
know this. But I never saw that he had humorous moments.
Mhm.
But John can carry a comedy. He can carry a drama. He could carry a World War II film. He could carry all of that on his back and is not break a sweat. The
Mhm.
boy's range is so phenomenal. The difference between his character and the Woman King, where there's this whole scene in that movie, and then you know which one I'm talking about, where those guys show up and he very
Mhm.
politely tells them to their face, "I'm not about to kill you." You know what I'm talking about? Like he's just,
Mhm.
and he doesn't raise his voice. His physicality doesn't change, but that is a king right there. And he is like, "Oh, you really think I came here to play? We try to do this the nice way, but you want to play games, so now I'm going to have to murder you."
Mhm.
The difference between him and the desperation end of
Mhm.
his rope, knowing damn well that you're going to die by the end of this character in Breaking, is just night and day. This boy, we all know he's a star, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's
I'm gonna
watching
search that one out.
someone, yeah, it's watching someone become the next Pacino, become the next De Niro in front of your face, the next Denzel, in front of your eyes. When you
I
look
get
at
that.
his body of work, starting with Attack the Block till now, and you're just like, oh my God, we're watching this boy become a superstar and everything. He's outstanding in this. Everyone is outstanding in this film. You're gonna cry. I'm not gonna lie. You're gonna cry.
I'll,
But it's
I'll get into it.
absolutely phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Do you
Okay.
have another choice?
I'm going to bring these two choices together
Okay.
because they are a similar genre of film.
Okay.
The Batman
Yeah.
and Wakanda Forever.
Yep. Hands down.
Um,
Hands down.
better than five, definitely better than five of these films on this list.
Yeah.
And I mean both of them.
Yeah.
Um,
Easily.
for, easily for
Easily.
100 different reasons going in all the directions.
Yeah.
Um, but for the Batman film, if you, I wrote my review on Pop Culture Uncovered. Our website is floating here at the bottom, so go over,
Yeah.
say hi. Um, we see Batman. We have seen Batman as a little boy. If you watched Gotham, him growing up into what he's going to become, Batman.
Mm-hmm.
We have seen him in what I'm going to call his I've perfected being Batman. And I'm going to say that's like the Christian Bale
The
Batman.
Christian Bale
Michael
slash
Keaton.
Michael Keaton slash what's our boy Ben Affleck Batman.
No,
Actually,
no, no.
Ben
So
Affleck's Batman
I
is
was
old
going to
man
take Ben
Batman.
Affleck to the I know I'm Batman and I need to retire. That's where Ben Affleck was. And I'm
Yes,
not
he's
mad
old
at what
man
he was
Batman.
doing. Old man
Mm-hmm.
Batman. What we
Mm-hmm.
had never seen in a Batman film is
Mm-hmm.
I'm still trying to work out what it means to be Batman.
And I'm not
How to
good at
do,
it.
and I'm not good at it. Um, I loved that about this Batman film
Mm-hmm.
and I said it in my review. I was feeling some kind of way about Rob Pattinson taking over that role, but after I saw it, I
Fantastic.
went, yeah, for this
I
version of him,
Yep.
of that
And what
character.
kills me, his version, I definitely see how Rob Pattinson's Batman becomes Ben Affleck's Batman.
Exactly.
Actually, you can actually
Exactly.
see the through line be how this man becomes that man in a way,
Yep.
even more than Christian Bale's. You can
Mhm.
see how Rob Pattinson's Batman becomes Ben Affleck's Batman. You can see
Yep.
how that trauma
Hmm.
becomes that man later on.
I
This
agree.
is the first film where I honestly felt like we were actually going to get the kids. This is the one for me. This Batman did something, it made me give a shit about Bruce in a way that I haven't
Mhm.
for years because DC Comics has not written Bruce well in about 10 years. They have
Oh,
written
and let me make,
him
and while we're, because we've been talking about money as well. The Glass Onion, it is hard to quantify how much money the film made because it was only in theaters 1 week and went straight to Netflix pretty much a month later. But hear me out. And Wakanda Forever, I don't give a damn what anybody says. That was one of the best films from last year. From
I'm going to
because
get
of what it
to that
had
in a
to
minute.
do,
I'm going to
because
get
of what
into
it
that in
had
a
to
minute.
do. But let's talk money for a second because we're talking about what brought people back to the movie theaters. The Batman, $771 million. I rounded that up. Uh the Wakanda Forever, 858 million. Then you would get into our $1 billion properties. Those were the highest. Then you get into Top Gun Maverick at 1.5 billion and Avatar at 2.3 billion. My point being is if you're going to nominate movies that because they quote unquote made money and they were good, these two films that I just mentioned should also be in that canon because those movies did so
Exactly.
they did well and
Yeah.
they were good movies.
Yeah. This movie, I and none of the previous Batman properties have I ever felt like we were going to get the Bruce who
Mhm,
raises Dick Grayson, and
mhm,
then after his parents' murder
mhm,
at Haley Circus. Um, I never felt like we were going to get the Bruce who raises Jason Todd as his son after Jason
mhm,
steals the tires off the Batmobile,
mhm.
and um, he's so amused that this 8-year-old would be like, "I'm taking your tires because I gotta eat." And I don't care who you
Right,
are. If you park your car at Crime Alley, I'm taking
mhm,
your shit. So, and
right.
he's so amused by it that it breaks him out of because if you read the
Mhm,
comic book storyline, especially at that time, he and Dick are at each other's throats because Dick is growing up and Bruce is scared. He's
right.
scared and he's scared to let him out of sight because it hasn't always worked out great for Bruce when people he cares about leave his side. So he and Digger at his throats. He's in his grumpiest mood, and then Jason Todd comes along with a tire iron and attitude, and Bruce is like, "This kid is insane. I kind of love it." And that's like I never felt like we were gonna get that version with Matt Reeves as the Batman. This is the first time that I actually see the person
Mhm,
who does that, who adopts these two children, and then begins his adoption spree that keeps going to this day. Um,
I get
I
that.
honestly feel like that's probably going to be the next movie is him meeting Dick.
Okay.
And I loved if they do that, I will be so happy because it'll be something we've never seen before. We've never seen other than Batman
Mhm,
with Adam West. We've never seen Dick Grayson in play. We've never ever seen him in film in play. And I
mhm.
really want Bruce the
That's right.
father trying to balance that being the Batman, not knowing because if people remember when you read the comic books, Bruce was 21 or
Mhm,
22 when he adopted a 11-year-old. So it was a baby raising another baby, basically. And I
mhm.
need to see that. I need to see that on film, and and this is the first time I felt like a director would understand how to do it.
I agree. Wakanda
As
Forever.
for Wakanda Forever,
Available on Disney Plus. The Batman is on HBO Max.
how are you going to nominate Avatar?
Mhm,
You're going to nominate this sequel with this shitty ass script and so special effects and genuinely an ugly film to me.
mhm,
How are you going to nominate this movie and not nominate Wakanda Forever which had a Herculean task. It had to be a homage. It basically had to be, and I said this in a previous review, it had to be a wake for Chadwick
Mm-hmm.
and T'Challa
Mm-hmm.
while setting up Shuri and Namor for the huge parts that they're going to take in the next phase,
Mm-hmm.
while being emotionally resonant and tying things that happened in previous films, not just Black Panther, together,
Mm-hmm.
and do it in a way that is doesn't feel like you're ticking off boxes. And not only did it did it well. And when we talk about special effects, you mean to tell me that the special effects in Avatar were better than what was in Wakanda Forever? Where I fully believed that Namor and his people were living underwater?
And I've
Are you
seen
kidding me?
some behind the scenes stuff with that film. There's something about they did like some of the work was done above water,
Hmm.
but everybody was in water at one point because Ryan said, "Okay, I need to see how this actually looks." As you were
Looks
saying with Gina, I need to see how is it. So like if there was a scene where they're underwater, they may shoot like three
from the
versions
top
of it,
up.
yeah,
Yeah,
underwater, and then go
yeah,
up to the top to get the actual scene that they needed. But no,
right.
they were underwater. Uh, the actor that played Namor was like, "Yeah, I can't swim." I
He had
was
to learn.
like,
How you
I
going to
guess I better go learn how to
predicament? How you going to play an actual water god and then can't swim?
He said he could not swim, and he had to go learn how to. He act that whole thing with him was is hysterical because he says he remembers taking the call with Ryan and everybody at Disney, hangs up the phone, and his people ask him what was the call about. I don't know. I just agreed to do the movie. It's Marvel. It's Ryan. Of course, I'm gonna go do the movie. What's the role? Like, we need to know what's going on here. And then, like maybe 2 days later, he's like, "Oh, I need to know how to swim. I don't know how
That
to
would be
swim.
helpful. You
That'd
should
be
try to
helpful.
learn how to swim. You're
I need to
playing
know."
an actual water god, like a literal god of water, and you don't know
Yeah,
how to
to swim. And I don't know how to swim, so he went to go learn how to swim. So
swim. That's fantastic.
it was hysterical. But I also agree that for what that movie needed to do,
Hmm.
as many people complained about them not recasting T'Challa off the breaks, I think that Ryan is so very unappreciated. And
Yes.
I need to write this down next to the article I am working on. I'll tell you about it later.
Okay.
All right. So do you have another choice?
I have three.
Go ahead.
Well, I have four, but because one is Till,
Mhm. I haven't seen
another
it.
biopic,
Mm.
and the fact that Till wasn't nominated is such a slap in the face for the 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 visually it was weirdly a beautiful movie.
Mhm.
It was a emotionally distressing movie. It was an extremely well acted movie. Danielle, let me make sure I got her last name right. She's so good. She's so good. Oh shit. Danielle Deadweiler is
Right.
so good in this movie. And I will say what I have to say, and this goes to the second film, the next film I'm putting these all together. The lack of
So
nominations for
let
Breaking.
me ask you one question. Hold on for Till for 1 second.
Okay.
So do we think the problem is Orion/United Artists not pushing this film enough? And I say that in that I don't recall a marketing push for this film when it came out in October.
I really feel like it wasn't pushed enough. I truly do.
Okay.
But I think that's part of the problem. But the
Mhm.
other part of the problem, and it goes to what I was going to say about The Woman King not getting a nomination, Till not getting a nomination, Breaking not getting a nomination, Wakanda Forever not getting a nomination, and the next movie I'm going to talk about, which is Nope, not getting a nomination, is that they're
Mhm.
not made for the white gaze. They are not
Mm.
made. None of these films that I mentioned are made to make white people feel better about their position in history, especially not Till and The Woman King, especially not
Okay.
those two.
Agree.
Every other
Agree.
movie,
Agree.
if this movie was made just 5 years ago, we'd be having, because notice that Green Book and The Help got wins, nominations and wins. But those
Yeah.
movies are made to make white people feel better about their place in the civil rights movement. This movie was not. The Woman King was not made for you. It was not
Yeah.
made. It was made. They're telling stories, and they're telling it from a black point of view and a black point of view only. White people
Hmm.
are no way centered in any of these stories. Not in Till, not in Nope, not in The Woman King, not in Wakanda Forever, not in Breaking. They are not the center of focus. And I really think that one of the main reasons these movies were not nominated is because they were not here to make white people feel better about themselves. That's it. They
She said
truly
what she
weren't.
said.
And I said what I said, and that's on here. Okay. Now,
From I have
we're,
two more from the rest of our team. The
okay.
Hustle, which is available on Netflix, which I have not seen.
I have not
Hustle
seen that yet.
and The Whale. Um,
Hmm.
the problem with it now, I'm going to say this about The Whale because we've talked about Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes on The Whale from the critics is 65. From the audience, it's a 91. Our teammate that added this one, I remember them when they saw it and they were very high on this film.
Mm-hmm.
I love Brendan Fraser, and from the clips I've seen, he does seem to do a good job. I Hollywood, there are large gay white men that could have done
That
that
they could
role.
have cast. Yep.
That they could have
That's,
cast.
yeah. But then you
Um,
would have to have the actual conversation with somebody. And that's my biggest issue with The Whale.
mhm,
Is Brendan Fraser great in it? Absolutely.
mhm.
But
Two things. Two things can be true.
two things can be true at once. Brendan Fraser's fantastic in it.
Hmm.
I do not want, if Darren Aaron, oh, I can never say this man's name, Aronofsky, ugh,
Hmm.
were to cast an actual heavy set actor, then he would have to actually have a conversation, a true conversation about fat shaming and
Hmm.
obesity and how people who are not a certain size are treated in this country and in the world in general. And this movie ain't that. It acts like it is,
Right.
but there's a hatred. There's a mean spiritedness about it that I do not care for. There's an underlying mean spiritedness. When you see it, you'll understand what I mean. But there's an underlying mean spirit is, and also magical fat person. It's the instead of magical Negro, it's your magical fat person. So if and
Right.
I'm like, I don't care for that. I don't. It didn't. It actually it irritated me. And when the first time I saw it, I couldn't figure out what it was because I was like, Brendan's really great in this movie, but I hate it, and I don't know why I hate it. And it took me a while to realize what it was. And that there's
Hmm.
a mean spiritedness underlying in the movie that I do not care for at all.
Okay.
So that for me is why I wouldn't have put it on the list as a rule. Um, as for what was the other movie? I haven't seen The Hustle. I keep hearing about it.
I,
Is that the one with Giancarlo Esposito?
I do not know. I know that it's
Okay.
on Netflix, and I think it has
I
something
thought
to
it
do
was
with
a TV
basketball.
series. Wait,
No,
I thought it
no,
was a,
it's
okay, hold on. Because
yeah.
now
We're
I'm
looking
like, I'm gonna
it up
look.
real quick. No, this has what is this man's name? I'm looking dead at him. Adam
Oh,
Sandler in
Adam
it.
Sandler and Queen Latifah. Well,
Yeah.
okay, that's the basketball movie. I actually have heard of this, and we probably should have seen this, but they didn't promote this
Hmm.
movie. They
Yeah.
absolutely didn't promote this movie because I didn't know about this movie until like it happened to come up in my Netflix queue. And I will say, Adam Sandler, when he is on fire as a
Mhm.
dramatic actor, he is phenomenal. phenomenal. It is giving big Robin Williams vibes, where like give him a good script and he is going to go through it, honey. Adam
Please
Sandler in
give
every
somebody,
dramatic part
and
is.
I agree. He annoyed me in the film a couple of years ago, but give the man a good script. Please, somebody give him a
Yeah,
good full script.
when he is in a good script. So I actually do want to see The Hustle because that
Mhm.
seems like something that I would like. It's two of my favorite people. Well, one of my favorite actresses, which is Queen Latifah, and one who, when he's on, he's super on, which is Adam Sandler. So
Right.
I could definitely see that I would have enjoyed that if I'd known it existed. My last two movies for me, three,
Hmm.
are
Hmm.
Nope, The Menu, and
Hmm.
Men. And I wasn't surprised that The Menu and Men did not get noms because Hollywood hates horror. It just does. I
I
was
agree with that. I have
deeply
not seen either one of
surprised.
these films.
I am deeply surprised that Nope didn't get a nomination because it might be Jordan Peele's best movie yet. When I
Okay.
saw Nope, my rankings immediately changed. It was Get Out and then Us, and now it's Nope, then Get Out, then Us. In terms of it is the tightest of the films he's ever done. It's the most ambitious in terms of scale and
Hmm.
visually. It is the most slow building terror of the films he's done because it's not an obvious. You have no idea what the. You know something bad's happening. You find that out in the first 5 minutes. They do not play games. From the
Hmm.
opening sequence, literally over while you that you're hearing in the background over the opening credits, you know something terrible has happened, and then it keeps going from there. But it's not that you don't know. It's not a slow build that term of the movie because usually in movies like this, it's we don't know something bad is happening until it's almost too late. No, you know from the outset something horrible has happened and something horrible is continuing to happen. That's not the
Okay.
issue. The the characters trying to figure out they know as well, which is also something would not normally happen in the film. The characters
Hmm.
know that something horrible is happening. They just don't know what. So it's not that, it's them figuring out, it's the family dynamics as they figure out what is going on and why it's
Hmm.
happening. So you have the family dynamics, you have the way, you have the layer of these siblings have to take over this legendary business because their family were one of the first black owned Hollywood stunt people, black owned
Hmm.
Hollywood farmers and ranchers whose animals were used in all these films. Their family are have a long history of being stunt men and women. And so they have to take over this and live up to that legacy. So you have that and how that kind of pressure can weigh on you, especially if that's not what you're into. You
Right.
have how Hollywood spits up, chews up, and spits out young actors, everyone, but especially young actors, because the ones who come out on the other side, like the Natalie Portmans and the Kiki Palmers and the Haley Joel Osments, are rare.
Hmm.
You have the chasing of clout and how clout chasing will actually can actually get you killed literally in this case, at least for one character, and it's both tragic and the funniest shit that happens in the movie. I'm not gonna spoil it if you haven't seen it, but just wait for There's a very distinct Wilhelm scream that happens at one point, and I'm just like,
Okay.
that you deserve that. You absolutely deserve that. I should not be laughing, but that shit was hilarious, and you deserved everything you got. Um, there's so many layers to this film, and then just from a visual standpoint, they literally invented a whole new way to film.
Mm.
So when you see the movie, any scenes that are at night are not filmed at night. They filmed because they were filming black skin and dark
Hmm.
black skin at that. They filmed all of the night scenes during the day and they used a special filter on the camera that they
Mm.
basically had to invent to make it look like it was nighttime. They literally they a gel that they put over the lenses of the cameras to make it look like it was nighttime, so that Daniel Kaluuya and Kiki Palmer and Brandon Pereira's skin popped because you're dealing with people of three different skin tones. Actually, four, because you're thinking about The cast is very racially diverse. So you got Stephen Yeun, you got Kiki Palmer, you got Daniel Kaluuya, Brandon Pereira, and Michael. Oh Lord, the young man. Oh, from The Crow. Oh, it's gonna drive me crazy. Oh, what is his name? Michael Wincott.
Okay.
So you have this vast range of races and backgrounds and skin colors because Michael Wincott is he's white, but he's very dark. He's very, very dark. You can tell that there is some Greek or something happening in there because he's a very dark skin. He's very olive skinned. He got a
Maybe
little
not.
bit of something.
Shh. Apparently, you did not hear about Joe Manganiello.
Oh, when he did his
Finding your
skin
roots.
DNA, I heard
Mm-hmm.
about. My mom was telling me I got to watch it, but apparently he was very shocked when he found out a few things.
Yeah,
A little
he's
bit.
black. He one drop rule. He's black.
What? What? I didn't know that. Holy, I'm going to have to go back and watch that. I'm going to have to go back and watch that. Um. So yeah, like
He didn't. I put it this way: if I always say, if there is one person I could interview, like at any given time, like I just want to interview them, it's him right now. Like, talk to me. Like,
surprise. How does that affect your life, boo
how do you
boo?
feel about this?
How do you feel about that? So
Mm-hmm.
this movie, they did such a great job. There's this one scene. Oh my god, it is pants wettingly terrifying. Again, have you seen
Mm-hmm.
this? Have you seen Nope
I have not
yet?
seen Nope yet. I have not.
Girl,
No,
I'm not gonna
and it is
spoil it
a
for
well
you.
known. And just for those watching, and you're like, oh, she hasn't seen Nope.
But she
Horror
says you
is
don't
not
like her.
slasher horror is not my thing.
It's not a slasher
So
movie, so that would definitely help. It's definitely not a slasher movie, and
is
that
it
was one of
closer
the
to Get
reasons that
Out?
these three. Yes, the reason that
Okay.
I picked these specific three is that
Mm,
Nope, The Menu, and Men are all horror movies, but they're not
okay.
horror movies in the way you think that they're horror movies. So let me get into The Menu and Men because I could talk about Nope all day. The
Okay. Let's go.
Menu is very interesting. It's Ray Fiennes, Anna Taylor Joy,
Mm-hmm.
and Beast. Nicholas Holt. I was like Beast, the guy who plays Beast,
Okay.
Nicholas Holt. And the premise is there's this and Judith Light, extremely exclusive restaurant that you have to go through, you have to be invited to go to. And then once a year, the owner of the restaurant does an even more exclusive tasting at his own private island. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to be boated to the island. I was like, I'm already not on board for that shit. The minute I got to get on, I got to leave my place of residence to get
Mm-hmm.
on a boat to go someplace I am not familiar with is a big. I'm not playing that game with you today. Okay.
Right.
I was like, I'm not. Oh, he's got to go. I'm already not having that. So I was like, that's already a red flag. That's already a red flag, fam. But okay, let's just say that everyone who is invited to this time, and I don't know how many times this shit has happened, has been a very bad person.
Oh
And
no.
their sins are about to be put on display. And that's all I'm not going to spoil nothing for you, but the only character who deserves to get out alive is Judith Light's character and Anna Taylor Joy's character. Because when you find out some of the mess these people had pulled, you're like, you know what? You deserve it. There was a lot of this for me, for both Nope and The Menu, was a lot of you deserve everything you about to get. You have asked for this. You have spent a lifetime earning this reward. Okay.
Yep.
Now with Nope, there is a character in the
Mm-hmm.
movie who's Stephen Yeun's character who is tragic. Is he the bad guy? Kinda. But it's not because of a choice. It's because he's been messed up due to circumstances. Again, I'm not going to spoil it for you. For so
Mm-hmm.
long that I don't think he even consciously understands that
Mm.
he is making bad choices and that his choices are affecting other people. He's hurt on a soul level that is kind until you get therapy, and I don't even know if therapy can fix what happened to this man. When you get to it, you'll understand. I don't think there's enough therapy in the world at that point. Men, I get why it wasn't nominated. It should have been nominated. Jesse Buckley and Rory Kinnear are freaking fantastic in this movie, but it's creepy as shit. It is one of the creepiest movies I have ever seen because how no one else is reacting to the creepiness is the only way I can explain it. If you've seen the trailer for Men, you will understand what I'm talking about. Every male character in the movie looks like Rory Kinnear, and yet, except for one. And yet, no one in the movie seems to notice that every male character in the movie looks like Rory. It's deeply upsetting. It is deeply, deeply
Sounds
upsetting.
weird.
It's so creepy. It's so creepy. The movie start the circumstances of why Jesse Buckley's character needs a minute are terrible. It's all bad, fam. It's all bad. But I get what they were doing. It was very unnerving.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest issue for me with this movie was, and I'm gonna say this about all horror movies, bitches buy curtains. When you see the movie, you will understand exactly what I'm talking about. Buy some
But
half of your problems in these movies would be resolved if you assholes bought some curtains and stop letting people just look in your house. Buy some damn curtains. And if a door or a window in your house is open and you know for a fact that your ass didn't open them, leave
leave.
immediately.
Bye.
Don't even stop. Don't grab your shit and get your keys and your wallet and get out. If you got an animal, grab that too and get out of the house because the amount of horror movies I've watched this year where half of their problems will be resolved if they just had common sense and curtains is really actually annoying. Buy some freaking curtains. Nobody should be able to look in your house like that.
Oh,
And
I
that's all
agree.
I'm going to say about
Nobody.
that. Nobody.
All right.
Nobody. That movie was deeply unsettling, but I actually do get why it wasn't. Get why it did not get
Yeah.
nominated because it's so deeply creepy. And again, they hate
Mm-hmm.
horror. I feel like the last time a horror movie was nominated, was it Us or was it Get Out? Was Get Out
Let's
nominated?
get out.
It was Get Out. That was the
I
last
know it was
time a
nominated for
straight
best original.
screenplay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are my picks of
All
what
right.
should have been
So
should have gotten it.
and I made another graphic. The other graphic is based on the movies that we just discussed, the ones that should have been, most of the ones that we just discussed, what should have been nominated. And the primary thing I want to say and make sure that we get out in these streets is that based on the Rotten Tomatoes scores, The Women King and Hustle had better reviews. Actually, Glass Onion, those three have better Rotten Tomato scores than some of the films that were nominated. And
So it really does make you ask why.
I mean, and I know, yes, who is the Hollywood establishment and what are they, and like, why is this, where's the line? Like, even,
Mhm.
okay, so I'm gonna go with Wakanda Forever because that's this one here, this line here.
Mhm.
Rated than Triangle of Sadness and the film right before that
Mhm.
by the critics. So what we want to know is the people that nominate Best Picture. What are y'all looking for?
What you
Because
looking for?
apparently it's not even what the critics are looking for.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What
And
you looking
again,
for?
if you wanted to nominate an art house film, Breaking was made for minimum
Mm-hmm.
budget. So how did that get not nominated over to, but Triangle of Sadness did? Same with The Menu. Neither
Yeah.
one of them were made. Both everybody in The Menu took a pay cut to make that movie because the
Yep.
script was so good. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want to nominate an art house film with a massive cast of people,
Mm-hmm.
why would you not nominate The Menu or Breaking? I
Right.
mean, what's
And
more old Hollywood
oh,
than
wait a
Ray
minute.
Fiennes?
I, let me say this: Wakanda Forever is better, has better reviews, professional critic reviews than Elvis, Avatar, and Triangle of Sadness.
Color me shocked. Triangle of Sadness. Nobody. I'm like, who watched this movie? Because everybody I know hated it. So I'm like,
I'm thinking,
who was watching this?
mm-mm,
It's
no.
like a Avatar. I'm still trying to find anybody who watched that movie and actually enjoyed it, because it made a ton of money for a movie that, as far as I can tell, nobody liked.
I'm gonna,
And I'm
that's the
deeply
question of the day.
confused. Yeah.
All
How
right.
did these movies go when then nobody liked them? I
So I want to
I
thank
don't know.
Belle. Belle,
You're
first off,
welcome.
thank you for hanging out with me this afternoon
You're
and
welcome.
having this chat with us, our yearly Oscar rant. Um,
Yes.
I will be back again later this week with a special guest to do our predictions,
Predictions.
to make some
Nice.
predictions. You're definitely going to listen to that because I might say a couple things that's going to surprise some people. Um, follow us on all social media at PCU or popcultureuncovered.com. And we will see y'all all again after the Oscars to talk about everything.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Hmm.